Hey everyone, Brent back with you. It's been, 4 months since I made a video, and I have been pretty much radio silent for those 4 months as far as hobby content and connecting with the community. And there's reasons for that. We'll get into that in a minute. Probably going to name this video something like The Hobby is Alive, but I'm bored, something like that. And I'll get into the meat and potatoes of what that means in a moment. But first, some life catch-ups. My job. I have been on the road for the last 2 months, pretty much nonstop. I was down in the San Antonio area for a month straight, opening up a brand new restaurant there. Usually I'm not on site for that long, but this is the first of its concept and needed to be there along with the support and training team to make sure everything was hunky-dory, and we knocked it out of the park. So that's good. That's job security, and couldn't be happier for that. A lot of sweat equity went into it, and with that came a lot of long days and zero time for even thinking about doing any kind of YouTube videos or hobby content. When I did have time, I just didn't feel it. So again, cart before the horse. We'll get into that in a moment. So the job's going well, but it's keeping me busy. Back home for a couple of weeks, and then I'm heading out to other parts, my parts of the country. My job now kind of puts me all over the place, and my territory right now is pretty much the whole country. So yeah, so I'll be traveling a lot. Hopefully not as long as I did this first stint, being away from home. Speaking of home, soon to be empty nesters. My daughter turns 21 in May, and she is, we're sending her back out to France, where she is looking to potentially land a, she wants to be a pastry chef, and there's a potential for her to be kind of like a resident pastry chef out there. Would be her dream. She's got 2 years of college done, and she's looking to be more of an apprentice, hands-on type of job for what she wants to do. So she'll be going out there for a couple weeks in May to scope out the potential for that, knowing that by the end of the year, she will most likely either be living over there or be in college down in Arizona. So more to come on that. My son is been living at home with us, and he finally found the job that he's been looking for and wanting, which would bring him back over to the Seattle area, closer to Tacoma-ish, but that would be his territory. And he's looking to move actually around May as well. So we got a couple more months here of having the kids at home. So trying to really focus on quality time with them when they are home. So that's been a big focus of mine. And my wife turns a big 5-0 this year, so we got a big vacation planned this summer for her and I to do a nice long road trip. Going to hit some national parks and some other things that we haven't seen in the country. So that's something I've been working on as well. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at from a personal, professional level. A lot of these things are keeping me from making content. But the real reason, one of the real reasons I haven't been making sports card related hobby content is my wife and I actually have our own YouTube channel that we've had for almost a year now for music. We are music nerds, especially 80s and 90s rock, alternative, new wave, hip hop, pop, whatever. That's kind of, we're just huge music nerds. We continually go down just rabbit hole after rabbit hole. We'll bring up one song that we like, and then next thing you know, 3 hours later, we're still talking about music. It's just, that's literally what brought us together when we were, before we were even dating. One of our first encounters with each other was at a used record store. So, that's for another video. Anyways, we've been doing this this channel for about a year. It's called Songs You Might Have Missed. And it kind of started out just being like, hey, songs that you forgot about, or songs, maybe an artist, like the top 2 songs from an album, but hey, have you heard these songs? And it's kind of morphed into more than that. We just did a top 10 U2 songs, where I pick my top 10, she picks her top 10. We've done, top 100 in a certain genre from the 80s. We deep dive into what was the top 10 songs on the charts for this week in 1974, blah, blah, blah. Ton of fun. We're almost up to 5,000 subscribers, which is crazy. We have this one video, I think it was top 100 synth pop songs of the 1980s. And it's like 120,000 people have watched that video. I mean, it's crazy. I'm used to like, hey, I got 200 people watching my video about Harmon Killebrew autograph card. And I'm like, wow, cool. And now I'm just like, pfft. So that's been taking a lot of our time when we are being creative on the YouTubes. So that's one reason why you haven't seen me as much on here. But the real nuts and bolts, the real meat and potatoes of this video is to talk about where I'm at with the hobby. And like I said at the beginning, the hobby is not dead. When I've had time, I've watched content, and obviously there's a lot of people still making great videos, passionate about videos. There's some great people out there that are keeping the community alive. I know there's always every once in a while you see videos, the hobby's not dead because there's, 500 kids at a card show buying Pokemon. That's great. There's always going to be money to spend and always things to buy. The hobby is alive. For us older guys, when you go to a card show, which I rarely do, but when I do, and you see most of it is modern or like Pokemon or whatever, it's like, it doesn't bother me. Obviously it is alive, but that's obviously and clearly not my wheelhouse when it comes to the hobby. That's not where I'm at. But more specifically, the hobby's not dead for us primary vintage collectors. There's a lot of content still being made. There's still a lot of vintage cards to be bought. There's a lot of vintage cards to be sold. I'm just bored with vintage sports cards right now. And what does that mean for me specifically? So this, again, caveats up front. This is just me personally. This is where I'm at with my hobby. This isn't any kind of condemnation or any judgment on anybody or anything. This is just me. There will be a couple of points that I'll bring up that might be quote unquote controversial, but it is what it is. I'm just bored with seeing the same cards over and over again. I get that Mickey Mantle was the darling of vintage baseball card collecting, but you can only see so many 50s Mickey Mantle cards. It just doesn't do anything for me. And it goes for any player really on the 50s. A 57 tops, whoever, it doesn't do it for me. Even going back to some of the 40s and 30s cards, there are some that I will continue to pound the table for, and that's for another video, because on another note, I have sold probably about 60% of my collection. I've consigned and sold. And that includes everything back to the 1910s. Keeping my Killebrew collection, keeping my Walter Johnson collection, but there's some other, like my T206s I've sold. I'm keeping my T212 Obaks. Shout out to Chris at CRT Sports and Alex Bowman 53. You know who you are. Long live Obak. And the other set that I will always, always, always appreciate and I will never sell are my Diamond Stars. I love that set. I can't get rid of that. Other than that, it's pretty much anything pretty much went. Anything that I was pre-1900, I think I've kept, just because that's just amazing that cards that old have lasted that long, and I love the stories behind cards like that. So I've kept most of those. But speaking of stories, that's what I miss. If anybody's followed me for the last 5 years, and before I was Star Huddle 77 as Near Mint Musings, I'm big on telling stories with cards. Not necessarily the story of how I picked the card up, why I picked it up, why I collect it, but a lot of times just the story behind the player, the story behind a connection with another player, with another, with a specific game. I always try to attach a story with any card video that I would make. There's not enough of that in today's YouTube collecting hobby, in my opinion. I get that most people, it does it for them just to see people's pickups. Here's what I got this week. Here's the great price that I paid. It doesn't move me. And it doesn't mean that there's a lack of passion or a lack of, wanting to have these cards in people's collections, but just, I can't get into it. It's like, I want to learn something at this point in my life. I'm at the place in the hobby that pickup videos and videos of like, hey, I traded these 3 things in to get this one card. Okay, cool. Tell me something about the card. What about the player? Is there a significance to the sets? I'm thirsty for more knowledge and interesting stories to go with these cards, and I'm just not seeing it enough. So I've become very selective and picky in my hobby YouTube watching, and I just wish there was more of that in the hobby. I do not claim at any point in time to be someone who set the standard for telling stories, but I always try to at least have some modicum of did you know, or some semblance of a connection with, making a connection that you didn't know existed, whatever. Or here's the original photo of this card that people wasn't aware of. I'm spitballing here, but anyways, the other thing too is it's not just YouTube. It's like on Instagram. Ironically, last fall, it's been a minute since I've made videos, but last fall I made a video on like where to buy your cards. Don't buy them on YouTube, buy them on Twitter or X. And one of the accounts that I talked about was a guy that co-signed and sold at a really good price. He still does. I mean, it's like that hasn't changed, but I just realized that everything he sold was the exact same thing. It was 50s and 60s mantles, Maze, Aaron, Clemente, all of these cards that you see just ad nauseum. And while those are amazing cards, I just got tired of seeing them. And it's the same thing with YouTube. I just see the same cards over and over again. So that's one reason why I'm quote unquote bored in the hobby. The other thing that kind of, and I was at a place both professionally and just not feeling it, but I'm totally late to this party, so full disclosure. But at the end of 2024, there's a lot of content being made, and a lot of it was in jest, but it centered around the term oddball. And don't call cards oddball cards, because all cards are precious. Or, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, the unique, rarely seen, not your Topps or Bowman main distributor manufacturer cards, things that came with food or candy or were found at, like at gas stations in the 50s and, in Minnesota. Those are the cards that were deemed oddball. And there was this push to get rid of that title. And I thought that was the most asinine and just unnecessary. I get it was a jest at first, and there was a couple of channels that were kind of spearheading that on both sides of it. And I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, call the cards whatever the hell you want to call them. I love obscure, rare, there's a story behind them cards. And if that's been deemed oddball, then I'm calling them oddball. I don't look at my cardboard and it doesn't tell me that it has feelings and it's being, like its feelings have been hurt that I've called that card oddball. It's like, you don't call your 1953 Bowman, Pee Wee Racing oddball card. Why do you call this, 1960 post-serial Harmon Killebrew card oddball? Cards don't have feelings. Call them whatever the F you want. I don't really care. My point is there's not enough content for oddball cards. I love that kind of stuff. So getting in the weeds about what you call them is the last thing. I could care less what you call them. Just show more of them. That's what I want. It's like, have stories behind this. Like, tell me that you had to go to this. And I brought up this example a minute ago, but it's serious. Like in the 1960s, there was this um, this gas station in Minnesota that had these game cards that you could redeem, and one of them was a Harmon Killebrew, and I got that last year. I haven't shown it yet. You know what? I will show it. Hold on. This is what I want to see more of. 1967 Ashland Oil Harmon Killebrew Grand Slam. Thank you for stopping at Ashland. You have another chance to win anytime you participate at any Ashland Oil. And these were like in the Midwest, right? And you had to collect these things. You could turn them in and you could get a free bicycle. I love that kind of stuff. There are channels out there that show that kind of stuff. I wish there was more of them. That's the stuff that keeps me interested in the hobby. Not 1974, 75 tops, not junk wax, not just everything that you see in vintage cards from the 50s and 60s. They're all beautiful. I don't disparage them in any way, shape, or form. It just doesn't move me right now. Not saying in a couple years it will, but right now it doesn't. So my position right now is that I would love to see more stories attributed to the baseball cards. There are some channels that do this and do it frequently and do it well, and I appreciate them. It doesn't have to be well edited and a lot of pictures and stuff that go with it. Just have something on a piece of paper and say, did you know, or can you imagine back in the 50s that when you got this certain product, this is the card that it came with, and put yourself kind of in the shoes of that person at that time with that card. Love that kind of stuff. So the hobby's boring me right now. I'm also bored of all of the bitching about, grading and all this stuff about, oh, I can't believe that this card's like, you're buying the slab, you're not buying the card. And then the next video that shows somebody showing a card in the slab. I don't know. It's like, if you're so anti-grading, then don't show graded cards. That's just me. I get that grading is super subjective. And at the end of the day, I'll be the first to admit that grading is kind of stupid. But at the same time, I appreciate something like this encapsulated into this thing. It's authentic altered, so obviously I don't care about the grade. I just want it authenticated and preserved in a slab. There's a lot of complaining about grading and its subjectiveness, and people aren't looking at the cards or looking at the numbers. 100% agree with that. But I don't get on a soapbox and say that I'm anti-grading, and then the next video I show, here's my PSA 4, blah, blah, blah. It seems a little, the optics are a little off, in my opinion. So, a little soapboxy there, but whatever. Anyways, what does get me up in the morning when it comes to hobby stuff is I'm really into non-sports cards. Probably will show some content on that, whether it be, turn of the century stuff, whether it be just, presidential stuff, historical stuff, some oddball stuff that comes into the non-sports as well. Big fan of that stuff. Love that stuff. One of my biggest passions, and one of the reasons that I changed my channel name a couple years ago from Near Mint Musings to Star Huddle 77, is that I wanted it to be not so... I didn't want to have a name of a channel that I could only show sports cards, like Near Mint Musings. What does that mean? I wanted something that was not really even hobby name. So I just randomly just pulled it out of nowhere. Star Huddle 77. 77 was a big year in my life. Star Huddle, I don't know what that means. Anyways, who cares? The point is I wanted it to be something that I could show anything I wanted to at any time. And the plan at the time was to show more sci-fi stuff, pop culture, and I really haven't done that much. I've done some Star Wars, vintage Star Wars cards stuff, which I really love still. Not so much modern Star Wars, because I think modern Star Wars is absolute crap. But the vintage, original Star Wars stuff, I will always pound the table for. Obviously, you see stuff behind me with Star Wars. There's Tron up there. Back to the Future over there. Right, look at that, Back to the Future, Princess Leia, and then the Wookiee. Back to the Future, I'm huge on. So I have a lot of stuff I haven't shown on that stuff. I'm really passionate about like 40s, 50s, and 60s sci-fi because I'm just fascinated by the innocence and the curiosity that went into sci-fi in those years, because you still didn't know what you didn't know, right? Nobody had really been to space. Nobody, people thought that you could just walk around on planets, and just be normal. And it was just like the imagination and innocence and wonder that went into 40s, 50s, 60s sci-fi, completely just I love. And there's a lot of golden age vintage comics that I have that I've never shown that kind of showcase that, and some beautiful, beautiful artwork that goes into the covers. I'm really into that kind of stuff. So those are things that I haven't really shown on the channel before that I probably will show more, just because I'm really into that stuff. And a lot of that stems from my love and appreciation of the show Mystery Science 3000. So Mystery Science Theater 3000 has been mine and my wife's favorite show forever, since we've been together. Well, we've been together almost 30 years. And a lot of Mystery Science Theater 3000's movies that they riff or lampoon are old sci-fi movies, and or monster movies, and they're just I mean, there's the Plan 9 from Outer Space Ed Wood version of it, which is just kind of like the poster child of terrible sci-fi from that era. But you have like Forbidden Planets, that's kind of game changing when it comes to like sci-fi movies of the 50s and 40s, 50s, and 60s, stuff like that. I love the old serials like Commander Cody. I love other shows that start showing like what it would be like to explore space and what they would encounter, and you get past the limitations of special effects they had, and you just kind of get lost in the nostalgia and wonderment of it all. And I love that kind of stuff. So more to come on that stuff, I think, on the channel. It's kind of, where I'm looking, if time provides. So that's kind of where I'm at with the hobby right now. Pumping the brakes on sports card collecting. Wanted to first, just, to recap, just kind of tell you where my head and my heart is right now for collecting. And also just a little ranty, a little soapboxy, and a little just, suggestive, reasoning as far as what I would like to see more content of. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I will try my best to be more connected in the hobby. Doesn't mean that I'm going to stop watching sports cards videos. I'm just, full disclosure, like I said, going to be much more selective because I don't have as much time. So when I do have time, I want to, be able to, I don't want to be the guy, so you have to earn my watch, but kind of do. Speaking of earning watches, if you wanted to hop over to my new YouTube channel for music, songs you might have missed, I will put a picture of it right here, and I will put a link to that channel down below. Having a lot of fun with it. Love music, and that's something I could talk about forever. Just geek out about, like, name me your favorite blah blah blah, and why do you like this song more than the others. That is a fun debate that I will never shy away from. So that's where I'm at. It's good to make a video finally. Hope you're all doing well. I know a couple of you reached out to me, and I appreciate it. I completely wasn't even on the radar and involved with the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame. I'm sure I didn't get any votes because I haven't really been making anything. But again, I didn't vote on anything either, just because I was just kind of in that funk. Well, first off, I was super busy with work, but I was also just kind of in the mindset, and I still kind of am. It's like, if I'm going to vote for a channel for the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame, it's like, it should not be based on tenure. I'm not saying that I get that you need to be making content for 3 years. I think that's what the rules are still, unless they change. I don't know. But my point is like, hey, this person's been making videos for 3 years, so he gets my vote. No, you have to be someone that I enjoy watching and I get something from, that I feel connected to. I think that the Sports Card Hall of Fame votes should be much more personal than maybe what they are. Just because you pump out a video once a week and you have a lot of views, I don't think that warrants or merits necessarily a vote, at least not for me. I'm going to be much more, this is content that I find interesting, enjoyable, entertaining, and I learned from, then boom. So, but I wasn't really connected to the hobby at the time when those votes went on. So hopefully I can, be involved with that, for the next go round. Anyways, more to come, hopefully. Thanks for being with me for the last 25 minutes. I know I've ranted for a while, but wanted to get some content out there and let you know that I'm still doing all right. And I appreciate you all. And I will see you on the next video. All right.